Welcome to Finding the Truth with Myke Hideous. I'm an artist, photographer, and an author. In the late 80s, I created a band called The Empire Hideous. Until 2009, I was a PC liberal Democrat, after which I became an independent. I believe in science, and I consider myself an alchemist who seeks answers to difficult questions. You're listening to Finding the Truth with me, Myke Hideous. The opinions and ideas expressed during this podcast belong to the speakers and are not a reflection on the services used to distribute this podcast. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Finding the Truth with me, Myke Hideous. I am your host. Today is February 19th. This is our 8th episode. Happy to say that we have gotten to number 8, and so far, so good. I hope everyone out there is enjoying these episodes that we are doing. If you like us, please subscribe. Subscribe, share, the whole 9 yards. Let everybody know so we can hopefully make this show a little bigger and better than what it is. And on that note, I'd like to introduce my co-host, producer, engineer, partner in crime, Professor Z.
Yes, that's me, Professor Z. Hello, Myke. How have you been?
I'm super swell.
That's good. So, yes, for those that are maybe new to our program, I am just sort of like Myke's conscious bubble or something like that. Or like, if Google was a guy, that's me. So I'm here to help, Myke understand the stories and topics of the day and to bring some, the actual news stories and data and information. So.
Right. For whom,
So what do you got today?
If I did not have if I did not have Z, I would not have an opportunity to do this show because he is the brains behind all of it. So there you go.
Hey, I just know how to push all the buttons.
Right. So yes. Okay. So where are we? What are we doing?
Where are we and what are we doing? Well, you had a couple of interesting topics for tonight, and the first one seemed to be just fairly interesting.
Well, basically, here's the deal. I saw something online the other day that really sort of blew my mind. So let me start by saying this. First of all, the situation when the whole situation in Hawaii took place with the fire. The Hawaiians, who are Americans, got a $700 check per household. After the devastation of what took place in that part of the country, on that island, they got $700 per person. You also know, or may not know, in Ukraine...
And just to point out, that was $700 flat or was per month?
It might have been per month, but I think
it might have been per month, but even still, you're not living on $700 a month in Maui.
So here's my point. In Ukraine, the American government is paying the politicians, it's paying their salary, which could be as high as like $10,000 a month. So they're getting more money for their politicians as well as small businesses to keep small businesses open in Ukraine. They're getting more money than the people in Hawaii. So that really pissed me off when I heard about that. In addition to them keeping the border closed for Ukraine and our border is completely wide open. So I heard this story the other day about the illegal immigrants who are crossing into this country. They are now getting 40% more than Americans when it comes to SNAP benefits and food stamps. Now, for those of you who don't know what SNAP is, it's a government
It's food stamps.
it's food stamps, right? It's a
Yeah,
benefit that
exactly.
people
And
get.
that's just shocking.
Right. So 40% more, and it breaks down to what I believe was. Don't quote me on the exact number of this. It was SNAP benefits and food stamp benefits for people, Americans, get something in the range of $7 and change, whereas the illegal immigrants now get between $12 and $13 per day, as opposed to $7 per day for SNAP benefits and American citizens. So there you go, people. That's what's happening to your country when it comes to the government giving more things away to people who are not American citizens than those who are.
But definitely, and you know, it gets it. It's stunning how these sanctuary states or cities are embracing them as well. There was Mayor Adams in New York City that was giving away debit cards with $1,000 on it. They could spend it on anything. You know, that's just, and he was defending this as a good option. Then you have Newsom out in California, who's basically giving every illegal immigrant free health care, as well as free sex changes if you feel so much inclined to do that.
That's great.
So
Meanwhile,
it's just they're giving away a bunch of stuff to the people that are not citizens.
Meanwhile, you have veterans who could be homeless. You have junkies on the street, other homeless people, and they're not getting anything. You have schools in which people, the kids are unable to go to their gymnasium classes or to their football practices or their baseball practices or soccer, whatever. They can't go because in some cases, these areas, these sections of the schools are being used for illegal immigrants. What really makes you think, people, is your government is treating you with less respect than they are for anywhere between 10 million and 14 million illegal immigrants who have crossed over into this country. No vetting per se. And they're getting in, they're getting 4 stars, 5 stars.
And the numbers
hotels.
are still all over the place.
They're getting credit cards, they're getting food stamps, they're getting all this stuff, and you suck. That's how the government feels about you. You suck. But everybody else, they're fucking great, man. Give them everything they want right out of our pockets. Taxpayers' money is going to Ukraine. It's going to Gaza, that's for sure. And it's going to illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, actually, coming into this country.
Americans are definitely last on that list. You know, we're not getting any love from our own government. They're happy to allocate billions of dollars all across the planet. But like you pointed out at the beginning, here you have the people of Maui. You know, I'm serious, like $1 billion would be more than enough. I'm sure $500 million would be great and could take care of most of the people in that, you know, devastation. In the worst, you know, wildfire in American history, and it's just, you know, again, the guy shows up last week just to say, well, we're working on things. You can depend on the government. Like, seriously, a year later, you're showing. I'm sorry, I just confused the two, didn't I? That was East Palestine.
He did go to East
Maui.
Palestine.
Yeah, he went to East Palestine last week. Sorry, my audience.
That was a year ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a year ago, and the guy shows up now like, oh, we're here for you. And like, seriously, you're here for us?
Shit. So full of shit this guy is.
And one of the first things he does when he's talking is he starts blaming Norfolk Southern, the rail company, which of course deserves some blame, but it's still like they're doing whatever they can do. And according to the mayor of that town, like they've been there since the beginning to help out. But the government should easily be able to peel off a few, you know, $1 million, $100 million, and at least help out all the people in that area that literally have had their lives devastated. They've been kicked out of their homes, that they're still paying mortgages on and having to pay rent on top of that. It's horrifically horrible how neglected the people of East Palestine and the people of Maui have been, you know, in the eyes of the government, while the immigrants seem to get all the attention.
Well, in a whole, American citizens are being shit on by this administration. They are being shit on, and they're literally giving you the finger and saying, we're going to do what we want. How much did he spend when he got into office? $3 trillion. Three
Well, so
trillion
far,
dollars.
it's like 6 trillion over the last 3
So
years. I
so
mean,
6 trillion since he got into office, right? Is that what
yep,
you're saying?
yep.
Okay. So just
And
think about it,
that's money
people.
that's not
Three
covered
six
by
trillion
regular income.
dollars would be. Let's just take $1 trillion. Okay, let's make it easy. Take $1 trillion, and you could literally send every single person that wants to go to college for free. Okay, you could have every mother who works get daytime daycare centers to take care of their children for them for free. Uh, I mean, I could go on, but we're spending billions
Well,
in Ukraine. We're spending billions on Israel and Gaza. Basically, we're siding two sides of the war. The same thing with Iran. We're giving them billions of dollars. They're going to ended up getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, I've never seen so much chaos take place by one man, one administration in 3 years. I've never seen it. And it is official now,
no.
ladies and gentlemen, that President Corpse is by far and I repeat, the worst president in the history of the United States of America. The worst. I
Most
thought Jimmy
definitely.
Carter was bad, and I even thought Obama was bad. I'd honestly probably take Obama back before I took this guy, President
Oh, hell
Corpse.
no. But okay, yes, I
You know
get
what
your
I'm
point.
saying?
Definitely. Yeah. Nah. And and this goes back to sort of what we talked about in the last show and the fact that he's not necessarily in charge. And therefore, the agenda and all of his people are just working what they think is the proper thing to do for socialist Marxist society that they're working for. And they're pushing it full throttle. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's been news stories this week about, again, how they're going to basically, I think the headline was they're going to turn up the heat on gas products. So they're still creating a war against anybody who's using propane and natural gas, for heating and for eating. And they're going after, the electric cars too. That's the other thing. There's this new mandate that they're going to force these new air standards so that everybody is going to have to, try and transition to an EV in the next 10 years.
Mm.
And it's just ludicrous. I mean,
It
why
is.
are you forcing people to do what they don't want to do? And we're well off the topic of immigrants at this point, but still, my thought is along the same, like, government does not spend money responsibly. They do not spend it practically.
Well, this
There are
government
plenty
doesn't.
of people that well, there's not in history. I don't think so. I mean, you can go back to all sorts of the war on poverty, which has been a complete failure. Not to mention the war on drugs. So I mean, they're happy to piss away money on things that make people feel good, but doesn't come up with any results.
Our
And that's
money,
just
by the way, taxpayers'
well,
money.
sure, our money, yeah. I mean, because government doesn't make their well, they do make their own money. They print their own, but they don't have a way of producing income. They have to feed off of us, private enterprise and the private sector.
What a disgrace.
But still, here it is. It's so blatant that they are giving in to the world globalist view by just letting the borders open and bringing these people in, and they're not having to do anything. And now we've got this crime wave that they're talking about, or the organized gangs coming from Venezuela that are looking to, rob us. Like, what? It's beyond comprehension that this is not on purpose.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. It certainly seems that way.
And to that point, if you want to talk about Mayorkas getting impeached and how that's going to fail because it's going to go to the Senate and they're not going to want to try the thing at all and he's just going to get let off. But I mean, the man is a puppet as well. He's just doing what he's told to be doing. And again, Mark Levin did this great analysis the other day where he was pointing out all these different things that he has done since he's been Homeland Director and Homeland Security Director. And he has basically writing his own laws and enforcing them and completely ignoring the actual statutes on the books. So, I mean, the whole thing, yeah, should he be impeached? Yes, but it's literally he's just doing what his commander-in-chief is telling him to do.
Mm. Well, in any event, it's just, I think it's important for you people out there who are listening to this to know that your government doesn't like you, doesn't give a damn what you think. They don't care anything about what you think. In fact, those of you who are out there who want Trump to be president, they don't even want that man to run for president, and they're doing everything they possibly can to eliminate their competition. Because let's face it, people, the polls are showing that Biden is down by a tremendous amount and Trump is up. I mean, he's basically beat every Republican candidate that wants to run, except Nikki Haley, who's an idiot anyway. She's not going to win. But the fact is, they're so, just to show you in comparison how much they hate you, is they're also trying to eliminate their competition with Trump by giving him all these problems with, 96 lawsuits, in addition to wanting to putting him in jail and so forth. So that's it. Your government.
Not to mention that ridiculous fine.
Right. So there you go, people. Yeah. Your government hates you. And I don't care if you're a liberal, Democrat, or a Republican or anything. Think about what I'm telling you. They give more to everyone else than they do to American citizens. And that's a fact. It's proof. It's happening right now in front of our eyes. Everything's coming out, and they're being exposed for what they are. So again, whether you're a liberal, Democrat, or a Republican, right wing, I don't care. Usually, the right wing people, they know what's happening. But those of you on the left, if you don't see this, you seriously need to open your eyes and stop watching CNN and MSNBC.
They're complicit. They're complicit with being part of the socialist Marxist agenda. I mean, that's what they want, or they don't mind. I mean, going even back to the revolution, there's always been a percentage of our population that's okay with being ruled. They want to be told what to do. And therefore, they embrace any opportunity for the government to tell them what is right and wrong, because I guess literally they don't want to think about it themselves. And it's ludicrous. And so it's just been forever part of our system that there's a percentage of people that will vote for that. And even if blatantly, like, things are horrible, well, for a lot of people that are actually wealthy enough, they're not horrible enough. They can actually sit home and they can drive their EVs, they can drive their Porsche EVs or whatever else, and they have somebody go to the grocery store for them, and it's not a big deal. But literally for the vast majority of us, life is horrible. And you have a choice between, under Biden, where things have been bad, and things under Trump, which were really good. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a stark comparison, only 3 years apart from one another. And most people, that should stand out in their mind.
That's right.
So we've moved over to the election from immigration, but it's an important thing, I think, to point out, because they're now saying that amongst polls that immigration is the number one issue. And this is the first time that the economy has not been the number one issue in the minds of voters. So the fact that immigration has now become a bigger issue, and apparently amongst most Americans, it's a good thing, because maybe, something could be done about this. And the man that wants to close the border is certainly the man that should get the job to do so.
Hey folks, thanks for listening to Finding the Truth with Myke Hideous. Listen, don't forget to check out all my Hideous merchandise, including t-shirts, blankets, hoodies, CDs, and my book, King of an Empire to the Shoes of a Misfit. It's all available only at MykeHideous.com. And don't forget, that's Myke with a Y, M-Y-K-E, MykeHideous.com. All right, folks. Before we get to our next subject, I'd like to introduce Stinger. That's Stinger right there. Stinger is a ball python.
I see. He seems to be reaching up for your... to be on top of your head.
He's about, let's see, I got him in 2007, and I've had him ever since. He is the only remaining snake I have left. I had one, two, three, four, five at one point. He was the sixth, and I had to get rid of them. Not that I had to, but I had given them to a person who took care of snakes. She had like 150 snakes. These are for you. And I kept
Wow,
this
that's a
guy.
lot of snakes, man.
Yeah, I know. That's really nuts. Anywho, this is Stinger, and he is with me for this segment. And after that, he will be going back into his cage, which is right next to me. So there you go. That's Stinger. You met last show. You met Sergeant and Puma. Sergeant is my parrot. Puma is my cat, or one of my cats, and now Stinger. There you go. Okay, so
Very cool. He looks like he's strangling you there, Myke. You
not
just
quite.
let me know if you start, give
If
me
I
a
turn
hand
red.
signal or something if you need to take a break.
So this next topic I titled "Biden Hates Israel." So recently, President Corpse, um, he has blatantly showed, in my opinion, blatantly showed his uh, disdain for Israel, and this is why. Recently, Israel had beaten back their enemy, Hamas, leaving only 4 battalions left of Hamas that they were fighting. So they beat them all back. They moved them down to the southern part of Gaza. And then the Israeli army had surrounded the Hamas leaders as well as Hamas into one particular area. Now, if you recall, after the Hamas filth murdered innocent people on October 7th of last year, uh, Israel rather swore they'd hunt them down and they'd kill Hamas and its leaders. Well, here we are, or here they were, I should say. And this was about maybe a week ago, maybe even less. They literally, uh, they. All right, I just lost my spot here. I'm sorry. They were at a point where they literally were ready to pull the plug on these murderous POSs and these leaders of Hamas, and they've got them right in their clutches, right where they want them, surrounded, so to speak, in this one area. And President Corpse tells Israel to stand down and cease fire. So think about it. You have the leaders, the head leaders of Hamas in this one area. You take them out, and you cut the no offense, cut the head off the snake, and the body dies. So here Israel has this opportunity, and President Corpse tells he wants them to stand down and cease fire. So Israel's about to finish the job and make hamburger meat out of these I'm not even going to say it, out of Hamas and its leaders, and our government is telling them to back down. So if that's not a blatant show of disrespect from our leader to the leader of Israel, I don't know what is. I really don't, because it's so obvious. As I said before, we're fronting both sides of this war, Israel and Gaza. We're giving money to both of them. Yet at the same time, there's all these, everybody's got their pubic hairs up in a roar because they're so worried about humanitarian issues. People, the Gazans are getting killed. Look, I don't want to hear about it, because Israel told these Gazan people, move, go away, get out of this area. We are going to destroy this area until we kill every last piece of shit Hamas soldier and their leaders. We're going to kill all of them. So move. And they kept moving down, south, south, south. And then what happens when they get to Egypt? What does Egypt do? Shuts its doors, so to speak.
It's building a wall right
They
now.
built a wall. Oh my God, I thought walls didn't work.
No, big concrete wall.
Only
Nothing
walls
that you can
in
like
America
cut
don't
your way
work.
through.
Only walls in
Oh,
America don't work. But they build a wall
walls in the
in
desert
Egypt.
works.
They build a wall in Egypt, and now the people from Gaza cannot cross over to get into a safe place. Egypt doesn't want them. Jordan doesn't want them. Nobody else wants them. What does that tell you about these Muslim countries? I know what it tells
Well, at
me.
the very least, they're sacrificial. But sure, what do they tell you? Is that the sign? Okay.
I'm doing all right, folks. It's good. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep talking. You just, give me the thumbs up when you're good.
In any event,
Yes.
as I said, Egypt did nothing to help the so-called Gazans. I won't call them Palestinians. So
They're technically not.
they're not.
I mean,
The Jews were Palestinians for like, what, 3,000, 4,000 years ago?
mm-hmm. Well,
So all I'm saying is that it's so hypocritical. As I put my snake back here, it's so hypocritical. The government, our government, are a bunch of liars and hypocrites, and they're I don't know whose side they're on anymore. I really don't. I have great concerns about my government. I have great concerns about my country, and I certainly have great concerns about the man who's supposedly leading us, because he's not doing a very good job, ladies and gentlemen.
well, and he's not,
and I'm
like,
sure you've seen that.
Sure, and like you've just been pointing out, he's certainly not supporting one of our closest allies, Israel. I mean, quite honestly, like, the whole idea that Israel would be, indiscriminately hurting civilians is just wrong, because that's what the bad guys do. That's what they did on October 7th. So the Israels, the IDF, they're doing their job as efficiently as they possibly can.
You know how
And
many
there's
people
going
they've
to be
lost?
collateral. Who in the IDF?
The Israelis. You know how many people they've lost?
Well, counting the 1,400 from the October
More,
7th.
no. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the people who are fighting the war. The
Right,
IDF.
actual casualties. Yeah, sure.
Right. They're losing a
What
lot of
number
people.
do you know?
Shit,
Okay.
what was it? I can't remember it off the top of my head, but they lost a lot of people, and that's because
Oh.
they're going from house to house to house to house,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking for these murderous bastards. I did want to add something else to this. As I was mentioning everything about Israel and how we got into this mess, does President Corpse even care about the Israelis getting back their hostages? Number two, does President Corpse even care about that 25 of them are Americans? Like, do you even hear about that on the media?
Not at all. And when was
Do
the
you
last
do
time
you
there was
even
a
hear
large?
about it from our administration? No.
Hell no. No, and they're not actively worried about it, or at least the people who are the puppet masters aren't worried about it.
They don't give
But
a
what was the last
goddamn.
time that we had a bunch of Americans being held hostage someplace in the world? I guess it was under Jimmy Carter, right? With the whole Iran thing.
Actually,
So,
no. Actually, the recent one was when we did that trade with Obama. As a matter of fact, I think even with Biden, they sent when Obama was in office, they sent $160 billion in cash to Iran.
true. That was an exchange. That's sort of different.
It,
Right now,
it's the
they have
same thing to me.
25. Not so much, because these 25 hostages are being held by, we know Hamas, is literally just ruthless people. So you can't imagine any of these people have been well kept for, in the last 100 days. And the people that have gotten out, like the two people they were able to rescue a week or so ago, it's still, you and I don't know if we've seen and heard or read any details of what they went through, but I can't imagine it was like, staying at the Quality Inn.
No, of course.
So, I mean, it's just
More like the
it's
Econo
honestly,
line.
Yeah, more like the Econo Lodge. But I mean,
So,
or worse. But I
here's
mean,
the
still,
thing. You've got these people who are still allegedly hostages. I think most of them are dead at this point. So it is my thoughts, if you will, that the reason they're holding off the whole giving back the hostages thing is because they're dead, because they raped and killed the women, because they probably took the men right off the bat and slit their throats. They may not. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope they do find
I
these
hope you're
people.
wrong too, but I mean, you're on the other side. I mean, I've already thought of them as casualties of war.
Probably.
So sadly, as it is in routing out Hamas and dealing with that immediate threat for the Israelis, if somehow all the hostages die, they can't be put on the Israelis. I mean, they
Nope.
were in their homes on
Yep.
October 6th. They were all doing whatever they wanted to in their free lives. They're going to a concert, having a great time, hanging out with their families because it was a holiday. And the next thing they know, like they've spent the last 100 days in a cave in the middle, underneath the ground, someplace. And like you just pointed out, I'm sure the women are probably not, being left alone, and I'm pretty sure the guys are probably being abused, and the children I can't even begin to fathom. So I
One
mean,
thing that when I saw some of the footage from October 7th, I mean, all of it was terrible. Don't get me wrong, all of it was terrible. But one thing that really stuck with me was seeing this one child, this one boy, who couldn't have been more than, I'd say, 8, 9 years old, and he was being bullied by all these other Gaza kids who were pushing him and hitting him and throwing things at him, and that really hurt me. That really haunted me. Now, don't get me wrong. The fact that these other people were burned to death in their own homes or shot to death. In some cases, they even killed their fucking dogs. These people
oh,
are
it
shit.
was
These
worse than
people
that,
are
dude.
shit. Okay, they're nothing more than shit on my fucking shoe. That's how I think of these people. They are ruthless, mindless, heartless cunts.
I know I said it maybe in one of our previous episodes, but it's literally like what happened on October 7th. We haven't seen and since the days of Vikings. Raping and pillaging villages, wherever they go to conquer. I mean, once I saw what happened on October
That's the
7th,
Muslim
that was my
religion.
first thought. I was like, oh my God. I mean, what they were doing was raping and pillaging and destroying. And
This
the
is the
fact that,
Muslim religion. Say it like it
in
is.
part, most
This is the
definitely, most,
Muslim religion. That's what
it's,
they do. If you don't follow their ideology, they will rape you and cut your fucking head off because
well, I'm
that's
going
the
to,
religion of peace.
but I will actually stress the fact that there is a huge percentage of Muslims that are very peaceful people,
This
and
is
because they
true.
don't believe in this garbage. But the percentage of people that do believe the written words of the Quran, as well as
Doctrine.
Sharia law, they are going to follow those doctrines because religious ideology is extremely strong, especially when it's the only thing you've known your entire life, since the time you were raised. So it's more than apparent that, most of the children that have grown up in the Gaza Strip in the last 17 years, when they had their own state of their own, by the way, for all of our listeners, they had their own place, they were still teaching their children every morning to hate Jews and
Hmm.
to destroy Jews.
And not
So,
just the Jews, all infidels. You and
well,
I.
sure. Well, you're not wrong, but the Jews were the immediate threat because, of
That's right.
course, they own the property around Gaza.
Do you know one of the things that they tell their kids? That Jews cook children, drink their blood, and make cookies out of their bodies.
Well, dude, I hate to say it like this, but I'm pretty sure the Nazis even told things like that. I mean, it's
And
that
who do you
that
think
is that
who do you
goes back
think
a
the
long ways.
Muslims get their ideas from? They fucking love Hitler. They love the Nazis. They love that because
The
it
Muslim
it
countries embraced it because their
absolutely.
ideology is very close to the philosophy of
And
socialism and Marxism and
and another thing
fascism.
I talked to you about, and I don't know if we did it on the show or not, but do you know how a Muslim army soldier salutes? You know how they salute?
Right.
That's how they
Yeah, I think
salute.
you did mention that before. Yeah, they basically are doing
Now, what is this? What does that mean to you? What is that? What is that, Z?
only means one thing to me, man. And Heil Hitler.
Thank you. That's how Muslim soldiers salute their generals.
Yep. Well,
So, in all, I have a deep, deep hate for organized religion, particularly Muslim religion, Islam religion, I should say. Those who follow this religion doctrine are hateful, racist people. And you cannot change my mind about that. Call me what you will. I don't give a goddamn what you call me. But these are the facts, okay? And I'm sure there are people out there that would agree with me. I'm not a hateful person. But when I see things happen like what happened on October 7th, or 9/11 for that matter, I have a great hate in my heart for people that would do such things to other people. I don't care what religion you are, what ethnicity you are. I would never do that to somebody. But apparently, when you believe in that God, Muhammad Ali, I think his name is, and if you believe in that God, that the Quran teaches you to hate everyone else but your own religion. And let me tell you something, people. There's a word called talk for a second. I'm going to look this word up.
For this second, I will talk while Myke tries to figure out the exact word that he's trying to speak. Of course, what I'm talking about is nothing important whatsoever, and this part of the program can be removed easily, or you can start talking amongst yourselves. Maybe stop at Starbucks and get yourself a coffee. Dunkin' Donuts is usually open, or Dunkin', as they like to be known at this point. And these are not sponsors of our show, but if you are encouraged to go to their product,
here I got
can
it.
you go a little faster, dude? You know, I'm really doing pretty good here.
All right, so I want you to remember this word, TAQIYYA, TAQIYYA, TAQIYYA. This word means the following: the practice of lying to non-Muslims to advance the ideology of Islam, or as I put it, Islami. The death cult, that's what they are. Okay, the so-called religion of peace. I read it for myself in the Quran when I read the Quran, as well as, quote unquote, all infidels must die, quote unquote. Also, that in fact, that when I opened the Quran, I'll never forget this. I was standing in Border Books and I picked up the Quran and I opened up to a random page. I don't know what page it was, but I opened it up to a random page, and the first thing I saw in that book was, quote, all infidels must die, period, unquote. And the taqiyya, as I said, remember that word, because it is a word that is greatly embraced by the Islamic, what do you call them, the mullahs and those who follow Islam to the doctrine.
Well, in their society, yes.
And right, so they will lie to you and anybody else they have to lie to in order to get their ideology through. And I see Muslims talking all the time how they're going to take over the world. That's the ultimate goal of Islam. Take over the world and make the world completely Muslim.
And that is correct. It's the worldwide caliphate that they're looking to bring about. And it was something that they were working, as a society, as Muslims and Islam was growing in the early days, they were looking to create. And now they're looking to create it again. So without going deeply into that part of it, I just want to bring up sort of a counter, at least to you, Myke, in the fact that, I actually don't feel hatred like you do for something like Islam or for religion in general. I think I brought up before that I am very supportive of individuals that actually have faith and believe in a higher power. And that's where, at least if you're part of Islam and you like that part of Islam and you're not interested in literally murder and creating harm in the world, then, you're probably not a bad person. But still, I'm going to just go on a bit of a defense because as a deist, I do not, I'm not a part of organized religion. I believe in a higher power, but I certainly don't fault people for having a faith and believing in something greater than themselves. And it does become a problem in every religion when it goes to an extreme. So, whether it's an extreme Muslim who puts on a suicide vest or a homicide vest and runs into a crowd of people, or, it's yeah, I think that's a more appropriate term. I remember hearing that on a broadcast once where somebody pointed that out. It's like, no, I don't care about the guy killing himself. I do care about the, dozen of people that he may take with him. And, fortunately, that's not something we see too much anymore. But regardless, there's still plenty of people that, have a religious perspective and they take it out on populations or groups of people. And it's not right. It's just, I have a problem in general with people taking life so, I don't know, casually. Like, it's not, human life is very valuable, and to easily sacrifice it, destroy it, for whatever your means are, is just wrong.
Yeah, just to clear things up, just so you don't think I'm some kind of only Muslim hating guy. I had a problem with in the 80s when the Christians were blowing up abortion clinics. I had an issue when in the 70s when I was very young, but when I looked back on it, the Irish and I should say the Catholics and the Protestants blowing each other up.
Oh, the IRA and Northern Ireland and so forth.
Right.
I mean, that's also, I mean, that is so weird. And just to bring up that specific scenario again, that's Catholics and Protestants, and that's in the 20th century that they're fighting that stuff out.
Right.
And you can go back centuries where, still they were killing one another. People were burned at the stake. They were having their heads chopped off because they believe in one or the other. It's horrible. How can you have faith in a God and then think it's okay to destroy another individual just because they don't believe what you believe?
Yep. And like I was going to say, I wanted to finish saying it was, I don't have one particular hate for any particular religion. I don't like any mainstream religion. I have a problem with them all because I just do, and we'll leave it at that. But mostly,
my problem,
it's when I see people hurting other people, I lose all respect for that group, whatever it may be, whether it's religious or, like anything. I just don't
ideology. I mean, there's really one of those two reasons that you're going to do something like that. At the very least, cultural differences, you can call it as well. But
well, ultimately, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. My God's better than your God, kind of thing. And if you don't like my God, I'm going to blow your whole fucking family up. How about that?
Right. And that's the extremists, because the vast majority of people are in the middle, and they're not like that. So they're, the extremists are the ones that want to kill for the religion. The other extreme is those people that don't believe in religion at all, and they're just completely atheists.
Well, like I mentioned earlier about the word TAQIYYA, okay? Now,
right.
Look at what happened in Gaza on multiple occasions with the amount of casualties that they said they had, how rockets were fired at a hospital and so on and so forth. This is TAQIYYA. Okay, that is exactly what it is. They utilize the American as well as the Western media to say, oh, well, let's use them and tell them that we only had 2 people killed. Well, let's tell them it was 700. And that's what they do.
The hospital attack, you mean. Yeah.
And then, of course, the media, particularly ours, they go right with it. Oh, yeah, those goddamn Israelis, they don't know what they're doing. They're just murdering people left and right. Left and right. What Z mentioned earlier about Israel being our ally in the Middle East, they are our only ally. Yeah, we know Turkey. Yeah, we know Jordan. Yeah, we know this one and that one from whatever stupid country out there. But the fact of the matter is, Israel is the one country where we have military access. So, without Israel, we're not going to have a presence in the Arab countries anymore. I mean, we fucked up the Afghan when we left Afghanistan, and what was it, the Mogul airport, which was like the only main airport that we had access to for our military. That's gone. That the Taliban has that. It's over. We'll never
Yeah,
land there again.
it's ridiculous. Billions of dollars worth of equipment. Yeah.
Yeah. How many lives did we lose of American lives who went over to fight after 9/11, who went to fight for the freedom of this country, and they're all dead? For what? For what are they dead?
Yep. And Biden put us in that position where basically their sacrifice was not recognized, ignored. You could use a lot more harsher terms.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in any of the merchandise that I sell, you can go to MykeHideous.com. Just like the name of our program here, Finding the Truth with Myke Hideous. If you go to MykeHideous.com, you can get my book, which is called King of an Empire to the Shoes of a Misfit. It is about my years as a performer and a musician, and covers a range from 1988 to 2014. It also talks about my short but very successful point in time when I sang for the famous punk rock band known as the Misfits from Lodi, New Jersey. And you can also get my t-shirts, my horrible artwork, horror design, blankets, t-shirts, throw pillows, girls' dresses, so on and so forth, as well as my music, downloadable CDs. What else? I don't even. Just go to the damn website and check it out. So yeah, that's what I got. You can and the most recent thing is the book. Hopefully I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks I'm gonna have a whole bunch of new T-shirts up and ready to go for sale. And that's not just the music stuff from Empire Hideous, the band that I was in, but this whole other section of design of clothing that I have with my artwork designs on them, and I call it horrible artwork. And it's going to be all kinds of stuff like that, old, creepy stuff. In case anybody doesn't know my background, I kind of dabble in the occult, so all creepy, cool stuff like that. So yeah, folks, if you're interested in anything, go to MykeHideous.com. Click on the shop section and go down, and a couple other clicks and you're there. Thanks very much, guys. Hey, folks. We're back. So, we've been doing this new thing sort of kind of at the end of our shows here, called Did You Know? Which is
Did you know? We're gonna have to get a promo for this. Yes.
So I got a couple things that I found online, and I'll just read them. And did you know?
And this is supposed to be a surprise to me, right? This is stuff that we haven't talked about. Yeah. Okay.
We talked about one of them that I'm going to mention anyway because I think it's funny. You don't even have to respond if you don't want to, but this is a couple.
Okay. Thank you for your permission.
A couple weeks old, but in Connecticut, if you haven't heard this, this is a riot. In Connecticut, these high school boys tore down a tampon machine in the boys' bathroom.
Yes, I did recall hearing that.
I think that's so funny. Like, you know what? I'm glad the boys did it. I really am. And the principal responded with such, oh my God, how could boys do this? I mean, is that an oxymoron right there? It's like, how could boys do this? I mean, well, they are boys. That's what they do. And when you put a tampon machine in the boys' room, they're going to rip it down. But
what a surprise. Surprise. I'm sorry. I don't know how big his school system must be, but percentage-wise, how many trans men must there be? And still, are you really that surprised?
Mm.
I mean, guys have been like destroying men's bathrooms my entire life. I mean, it's usually just the hand towel machine. Now I imagine it's the hand blower machine or whatever they call that thing.
Putting
And
M80s down the toilet.
sure, like rip a sink off the wall. I mean, it's
Breaking
seriously
mirrors. I mean, all my
my
life.
entire life.
Exactly. Every time we've gone into men's rooms or when we were in high school or grammar school, kids broke things. Boys broke things. That's what we do. We break
And I'm
things.
sure the girls are probably something maybe not as destructive, but I mean, still, that their bathroom can't be any paradise necessarily
Well,
either. So
when they start putting condoms in the girls' bathroom, then we'll see what they do.
well, you see, that's a worthwhile machine. You see,
It's
that's
true. Yeah,
something
they could still
that's
use
really
that.
something okay, hey, you want to be a hoe? It's all right. Just, use some protection, and that
Use some
way you don't have
protection.
to
That's
end
it.
up as a mom at
I stand
16.
corrected on that. But you're right. No, you're right. It actually is a good thing to
When
have there.
unfortunately the tampon machine in the boys' room is going to lead to curiosity.
Unless you got diarrhea and you got to stick it up your butt.
Like, what do I do with this thing? Like, and not to mention, I'm sorry, like, what if there's a school year that comes through and you don't have any trans men? Like, seriously, how are the guys supposed to react to the tampon machine in the bathroom? Like, if the girls' bathroom is short, or is, oh, would you go into your bathroom and get me a tampon, please? What would happen?
Oh my God, I'm bleeding. You better get me a tampon. I'm bleeding from my penis. It's my time of the month.
Yeah, well, that's another.
You better see a doctor for that.
Yeah, exactly. You
Because
may
the
have
tampon
kidney
ain't going to
issues.
fit up there. Anyway.
Not easily, but
So,
I mean, if
moving
anyway,
right
let's not
along.
go there.
Moving right along.
Yes. What else in the do I know, or
Okay,
do
so
you know?
here's another one that I found absolutely hysterical. So this guy in Africa, in Mozambique, Africa, he takes a selfie of himself in front of a bus that he's about to board. And he's making a big deal out of it because he's very proud to be getting on a bus with a woman who's going to be driving the bus. The first woman to drive a bus in Mozambique,
I think Mozambique.
In
Yes.
Africa. 15 minutes later, he takes another selfie after the bus crashed. I love that. I think that's so funny. So yeah, there you go, folks. I'm not saying anything about women drivers. I'm just saying that's what happened.
Hey, I'm sure it's all the roads in Mozambique. They're not well maintained. They're not well signed.
Probably.
And like, it's probably very easy to drive off a cliff.
Or into an elephant.
Sure.
Oh my God, I hit an elephant. Okay, next.
I don't think you have insurance for that usually.
Hey, what do you tell your insurance company? Well, I was driving down this dirt road being chased by a lion, and all of a sudden this elephant pulls out in front of me, and what do you know? Bang, I hit the trunk. Okay. So that was a little joke there.
Does State Farm cover that? I don't know.
Yeah, right? Okay, so here we go. Did you know, apparently, Russia... Oh, and by the way, I found this on... this was on Morbid Facts, which is a guy who does these things on TikTok. Did you know, apparently, Russia has come close to developing a new vaccine which can cure cancer. So they say. Putin...
All cancers, or, that's a broad
there's
topic.
no indication about that. Okay. There was no indication. But apparently Putin didn't specify which cancer the vaccines will work on. This comes, all right, this information comes days after scientists found cancer-resistant wolves at the Chernobyl exclusion zone, where they're not, like, nobody's allowed to go. But there are a lot of animals. I did hear about that. There are a lot of animals that are now living their lives, mating, breeding, so on and so forth, in this radiation
wolves, at the very
zone.
Least, have literally developed a genetic resistance to radiation. So
apparently
that's an amazing.
Apparently they're, and I don't know if I'm saying this word right, genomes, Genomes, genomes. Okay, thank you. Their genomes have since evolved rather quickly to combat the cancer-causing effects of the Chernobyl radiation. Research has shown that many of these wolves have altered immune systems that are similar to cancer patients undergoing radiation therapy, like I did. So how about that?
Interesting. Wow. Okay. I mean, it's still an impressive story. You know, whether or not the Russians are really coming up with a cure for cancer, that almost sounds like propaganda. But I definitely heard about the wolves and the fact that they have basically their genome has altered to be able to deal with the radiation.
So you knew about that?
Yeah, I did read that story last week. Yeah, the wolf story. But the thing that's interesting about that is, like, you know, okay, how many more years is it going to take for them to mutate to be like, you know, 5 times as big as they used to be, and they'll be roaming across the country and eating people. So you got the makings for a perfect Russian or Ukrainian horror story there with mutated wolves.
It's interesting that you mentioned the thing with them mutating and getting bigger. Do you know that, and this is not a did you know fact, this is something else, but did you know, apparently they are splicing the genes found in dead woolly mammoths into, I believe, Indian elephants. There's a big difference between the two. So they're going to create a crossbreed, I think that would be the right terminology, crossbreed of a woolly mammoth through an Indian elephant. And apparently, from what I understand, they already have a section, what did they say, in Siberia, where they're going to allow this creature to live. So I'm told, or so I read.
I will believe it when I see it.
Yes, and in fact, kind of
once
weird.
Once it hits YouTube.
I mean, if you think about it, really, I mean, woolly mammoths, so they're only about 5 times bigger than a regular African elephant. Now, think about that. Why would you want to bring back an animal like that that's so massive? That would be the largest land mammal we have.
I agree. It sounds like a Jurassic Park thing where they're looking for some sort of financial outcome from it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of animals that if you could somehow bring back, but what you just described, you know, like you said, they're going to be using Indian elephants, which are notably smaller than African
much smaller
elephants.
than African elephants.
And so what you're going to make is going to be this new, you know, what, pygmy woolly mammoth beast? And again, for what reason?
Not to my understanding.
It's maybe it'll be a little bit bigger than
according to what I read,
that other DNA, but still.
According to what I read, the Indian elephant is more closely related to the mammoth, the woolly mammoth, which is now extinct, than the African elephant.
Sure.
So there's a possibility that if they are able to grow this embryo in an Indian elephant, that it may actually come out as more so with the genes of a woolly mammoth than an Indian elephant. So
then I would say the key word in your sentence is possible. Right. We'll have to see if it's ever going to be possible. But, you know, obviously in the annals, since we've already had cloned sheep, you know, decades ago, and, you know, I guess they could pull it off. But again, you know, I always fall back to like this old philosophy of, you know, just because you can does not mean that you should.
You should.
Yeah. So what is it you're looking to accomplish here? You know, I'm not really sure with a woolly mammoth. I mean, I guess if you look in the annals of prehistoric history, there's maybe a lot of animals you could try and bring back, but I'm not sure why you'd want that one unless you're creating an exhibit to create Jurassic Park. I mean, I don't know.
As
long as they don't start making T-Rexes, we'll be okay.
Right. There are a lot of animals that have gone extinct decade after decade, year after year. There are some species that are so small that we don't even know about, you know, in the rainforest or in the Amazon or something like that.
Sure.
And
there's species that we haven't even discovered that are probably already
live and die and end up extinct, and we don't even know about it. Like I think they said something in the range of like 30 species go extinct every year. I could be wrong on that number, but
probably so.
Something to that effect. In any event,
but I wouldn't necessarily feel guilty about them because, you know, who knows? Those are species that, again, the you know, natural world has decided to take off, you know, the list.
Not necessarily.
You can't
Some of these
well,
no,
not
no, no, no,
necessarily, but
you're wrong. You're wrong. Some of these
well,
animals in the rainforest are dying as a result of
and the
mankind.
key word
As
in your sense is some. Yes,
well,
I
the
get
ones that
that,
are
but I mean,
the ones that are being eliminated are losing their habitat because they're eliminating
I get
the
that.
rainforests, and that's why these animals are going extinct.
I get that, but there's probably other reasons other species are going extinct. I mean, the animal
It's
kingdom
mostly
is
human.
vast.
It's mostly human related, and it's just like the white rhino.
Maybe.
The
I
white
mean,
rhino went extinct because of poachers.
honestly, without having specific stories in front of us, I mean, it's just kind of painting with broad strokes, but I get your point. But I don't necessarily, just like the environmental argument, I do not blame humanity necessarily on environmental change. I do not think humans are the reason why, the environment's changing. And I don't necessarily think that humans are the reason why any necessarily species, doesn't continue on. I mean, it really does depend on the specifics. But I mean, I still get your point. I don't mean to necessarily dispute it. I'm sure many species do come to the end of their time because of human, encroachment on their habitats, as well as pollution and all the rest of the things.
Mm.
But it is a vast biosphere, and there's a lot going on. And you hear about mass extinctions, or like huge herds or pods of fish that kill themselves, or end up being dead. There's just so many things that happen on an annual basis to populations of animals. And you'd have to aggregate all that information to really know, are humans to blame or not. But I'm not saying that we're not culpable, but who knows? It does depend on specifics. Anyway, did you want to do some more do you knows?
Yeah, I got a couple of them. We still have time, right?
Sure. We're only 13, 14 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so next one. You ready? So, did you know that? All right, so you know the movie The Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz, right?
1937. Julia, no, what's her name? What was her name?
Judy Garland.
Judy Garland. Thank you.
Dorothy.
Dorothy.
So,
yes.
now you all remember the Cowardly Lion?
Who couldn't? Yes.
Okay, so that was
yes.
Yes.
I remember.
So
yes,
the
yes.
Cowardly Lion's costume for the Wizard of Oz was made out of real lion hides. They killed 4 lions just to make that costume.
Now, just to be sure, I mean, from what you know, do you know if they actually killed lions specifically for that purpose, or they just went out and purchased lion
That's
pelts
what I read.
from whatever their dealers,
That's what I
whoever
read.
deals in lion pelts? Okay, well, interesting point, definitely.
But that's
I mean,
the kind
it
of
was a
things
very,
that
it was
people
a very
did back
good looking
then.
costume.
These are the same people who, or I shouldn't say the same people, but the same mentality of getting seals, baby seal coats, and minx coats, and fox coats. I mean, these are
Sure.
the
Or not to mention the old movies that actually had real skeletons in the background, as opposed to just fake ones. Like,
really, what movie was that?
There was a couple of old science fiction movies where they actually, and I think even actually Indiana Jones got that claim. Like, one of the skeletons in some scene was an actual real skeleton.
Is that so?
And like the props master didn't realize it at the time when they bought them all or whatever. But yeah, there's a couple instances, I think, of movies where they actually had real skeletons in the movie. And,
I have a skeleton. In fact, I have 2. I have one human skeleton.
Well, that's an interesting story. Yes. That's an interesting did you know?
Did you know Myke Hideous owns 2 skeletons, one of which is real. The other one is a resin duplicate or replica. The original, the real one, I got in, when was it? 2000. It might have been 2010, 9 or 10. A friend of mine whose aunt was a science biology teacher or something like that. And in the classroom, they had this, the typical skeleton hanging on a hanger for biological research. And so one day she said to her niece, "Hey, you know anybody who would want this human skeleton that we have at the school?" And she's like, "Yes, Myke Hideous would." Like, didn't even have to think about it. She knew exactly that I would want it. So,
Of course.
how would I not? Um, all my life, I wanted a skeleton, or at least a human skull. Now I have everything. The first thing I ended up getting was the resin skeleton, which I ended up getting when I worked for Weird New Jersey magazine, and I did a trade with a guy who was selling uh, these these resin made skeletons, which were used for doctor offices and the same thing biology classes. They don't really use human skeletons anymore unless you're in like medical school. And even then, I don't think they might use them. Anyway, so I got that one first. The next one I got, as I said, from my friend who was my friend's whose aunt is a biology or science teacher. And when I got it, it was very badly uh, damaged, like a lot of broken pieces of bone, and the skull had a big hole in the back. I refinished that whole skeleton. I took it apart. I took the whole fucking thing apart. Not all at the same time, because I would have never gotten it back together again, but piece by piece. Like I would do the arm, the hand, and for every piece that was broken, I rewired the bones back together, and then I shellacked them. In some cases, I had to coat them with a mesh in order to keep them together so that they didn't break. I had to do that with the hips because the pelvis, I should say, was broken in half, and I had to uh, reformulate it, so to speak, and wrap it with this gauze. And then after I wrapped it, I used caulking to keep it together, and then I shellacked the whole thing. So yes, I I have two skeletons, one of which is real.
Intriguing.
Indeed.
And so the real one, just to be sure, is certainly not somebody you previously knew, right?
No.
It's not like an old enemy that you
More
decided, nah,
no old girlfriend. No.
or old
Actually,
girlfriend.
I would say if I had a guess, I would almost stake my life that it was either from Cambodia or Ethiopia, where a lot of people who donate their bodies out in those areas, they donate their bodies to science. And in fact, a lot of them come from either those countries or like Indonesia or some of the Asian countries. They donate their bodies to science, and then you end up having, I don't know what they would call them, but they strip your body down, remove the flesh, the organs, the bone, the muscles, and then knowing the science that they do, they put little holes in the bones, and then they string it all back together. It's really amazing. It really is. And for as I said, for years of my life, I always wanted a human skeleton. They're not easy to come by. They really aren't. Unless of course you're a
What a
doctor.
surprise! You can't order them on Amazon. Well, I
You
imagine the resin
you
ones. Yeah.
can actually. I think you can. But a friend of mine, when I was in a band called Spy Society '99, we had played in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and the guy that did the promotion for the show, he says to me, "You want to see something?" And I'm like, "Yeah. What do you got?" He's like, "Come here," and he opens up this oblong coffin, like the old oblong shaped coffins, real
Sure.
thin.
Yeah.
Opens
Hmm.
it up, and there's this fucking skeleton, like with hair and everything. Like I was blown away. It was real too. I know a real skeleton when I see it. And I was blown away. I said to him, "How did you get this?" He said, "Was Amazon around back in 1999? Probably not, right?"
Actually, yeah, it started, I think, in '98.
Well, he ordered it online. I'm not going to say Amazon, but he ordered it online somehow through somebody. How it got delivered, I'll never know. But he ordered it from somebody. They got, and when neighbors found out that they had this, I mean, it looked more like a corpse skeleton than anything because it was in a fucking coffin. Not like mine. Mine's hanging from one of those things that they hang from the head, and it's like it's just hanging on
Right.
this. It's a
Okay.
legitimate biology skeleton. But this guy had it in a coffin. Like it still had hair on its head. Like, it was like you could still see
Damn.
dry skin and everything like that. So
So he ordered off the internet from someplace.
yeah, yeah. And when his neighbors
And
found
it
out
seemed to
about it,
be a real skeleton.
oh, it was real, all right. It was real. I can tell a real one from a fake one. And when his neighbors found out about it, they started to call them. They would like throw shit at their house and call them devil worshippers. It was great. I
What
loved
a
it.
surprise. Oh my God.
Anyway, so yeah, that was my fun trip to Scranton, Pennsylvania. Anywho, I got one more for you. One more.
Okay.
Did you know? Did you know the Romans used to collect urine, aka pee-pee, and they would use it as a cleaning solution due to its ammonia contents, its ammonia properties. And it was thought to act as a natural disinfectant. They would also use it as dental hygiene. And there you go.
Well, there you go. There's the origin of water sports. That's interesting. I actually think I may have picked up on that in some documentary or reading something. I mean, of course, as they point out, there is something. Urine is sterile, so it does have that benefit. And if of course they'd have to realize about microbacteria and infections and all that other stuff. But yes, it seems plausible. I would have to say I might have known that. Except the part about how they probably enjoyed it. Yeah, exactly. Honey, I need to brush my teeth. Will you help me out? Sure.
Pee in my mouth, please. And I'll just use this stick that everybody else uses too. So
stick with a sponge.
By the way,
oh no, that's the other thing. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're talking about the behind.
Yes,
they used to all share a stick with a rag on it or a sponge. That's what it was, a sponge,
It was
on
sponge,
a stick.
Yep.
And everybody would use the same sponge on a stick to clean their behind.
I tell you, I wish I was a sponge salesman back in ancient Rome. I would have been a thousandaire.
Rich. Yeah, thousandaire. I would have been loaded with thousands of dollars or gold pieces. By the way, real quick, there were these last three stories you wanted me to actually go over. You want me to go ahead and do them?
Sure. I mean, hey,
you might as well.
It's your show, dude. If you want to keep going, I'm not going to stop
all right.
you.
I'll go through these quick. All right. So the first one, did you know a story? I'm sorry. Let me start that again. Did you know a new study recently released claims released by the National Academy of Science claims water bottles that people purchase may contain at least 100 times more microscopic pieces of plastic than previous studies have shown. Unfortunately, the health effects of ingesting microplastics has not been thoroughly researched, but will now need to be looked into more, more in a deeper, more.
Yes.
What's the word I'm looking for here?
It's going to have to investigate it, thoroughly. They're going to have to
thoroughly. I said that already.
But they're going to have to at least
more.
And I do know of this story. I mean, microplastics have been part of the news cycle, especially ever since the great garbage patch was first detected in the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, that's another crazy thing.
Oh, most definitely. But I mean, it's become. Recent stories that I've read point out the fact that microplastics have been detected in most marine species that we're eating as seafood, and therefore humans are getting them into them as well, even if they're not somebody that consumes water from water bottles or other plastic bottle sources. At this point, it's become a serious issue in the fact that it looks like just about honestly, it looks like just about everybody might have microplastics in their body. Especially in the Western world. And it's similar to after the nuclear race. Like, all of us have, what is it, cesium, in all of our bones after the nuclear testing from the 1950s.
Mm.
So, I mean, because
Well,
once they did that, everybody has it. But anyway.
Well, the story goes on to say a study from 2018 found over 93% of water bottles contain microplastics inside of them. With Nestle's Pure Life, that's their water bottle, the name of the
It's their
company
brand name, yeah.
brand name.
Or product
So,
name.
with Nestle Pure Life having the most. Now, in addition to this story, Nestle has been the conglomerate Nestle that makes chocolate and everything. They make a lot of stuff. They have been tapping into springs in states where their factories are, where they make or I shouldn't say make, but bottle this water. What they do is they tap into these springs underground. Now, eventually, these springs come out of the ground and create streams where animals and wildlife utilize them. As a result of them tapping into the streams are going dry, and thousands of types of animals are dying as a result of not having the water left. All kinds of wildlife are dying as a result of that. So, F you, Nestle.
There you go.
Next. Did you know? Here, this one, I think you're going to like this one. All right, Colorado people, if you're listening and you're from Colorado, you're going to love this one. Did you know in Colorado, Democrats have proposed a possible new pet tax? That's right, I said it. Pet tax. Taxes on your pet.
Which is a broad spectrum. I mean, people have pets of all sorts of species.
And I was about to say, pets on all types of pets, including invertebrates. So the tax, if passed, will cost pet owners between $8.50 and $25 per animal. So if you live in Colorado and this legislation, sorry, it's my teeth. I don't have many. This legislation is passed, you will be paying more money to the Democratic politicians in the government. This is what our government is doing to us. They're taking money to pay for all the money that they're spending like drunken sailors, and we have to pay for it. And now they want to
at least in Colorado, animals. Yes.
Right. So it still isn't passed, but just the
chances of it passing is probably not that great, given that I would only guess that in the Colorado legislature, a great percentage of the people there, representing the people, probably own pets. So It seems a little unpractical, except for the fact that, once you're in your ivory tower and you have the big, nice, cushy salary, I can afford the tax, and you don't necessarily care what the little people can deal with. But
just the thought of it is ludicrous. I mean,
I agree. I mean, your average family, has probably 2 or 3 pets, so they're going to be paying money on all these animals. On top of already the vet bills and everything else that it costs. The pet food industry itself is $1 billion industry.
It costs me $65 to buy a large bag of cat food that I buy for my cats. $65.
And how long does that last?
About, I guess if I had to figure it out, maybe close to 3 months. I mean, if you work it out, it's not too terrible. And it's good food, too. It's not this crap that they sell in the supermarkets. I go to a pet store, like a specialty pet store, to get this cat food because it's good for my cats.
Oh, anyway, you love your cats, I know.
I do. I have one last quiz for you. This is not...
All right. A quiz, not a did you know, but a quiz.
Not a did you know. So, you like berries?
Well, I mean, I haven't met too many berries. I mean, I've known a few in media, like,
I said berries, not berries. Berries.
Berries. You're talking about the fruit or the vegetable? It's a fruit, right?
I'll get right to the point. Can you name me 5 different berries?
Maybe. Let's see. There's strawberries and blueberries and boysenberries.
You said boysenberries?
Sure.
Okay, so that's 3.
I've heard of those berries before. Um, let's see. There's blackberries.
That's 4.
There you go. And then there's sure our audience already has a 5th one, but let's see.
Look it up
What
online,
else?
whatever you do.
I didn't want to have to actually Google it.
No, don't Google it. No. Come on, out of your brain.
That's what I'm trying. I'm working on it.
One more.
Neurons aren't moving as fast as they used to.
You're doing good. One more. Come on, this is easy. Think.
Raspberries.
Good. All right, so that's 5. When I had to do this, I could only think of 3.
Well, I'm glad to have kicked your ass, dude.
Raspberries, strawberries, and blueberries. That was all I came up with. But there's mulberries, cranberries, huckleberries, elderberries, chockberries, gooseberries, lingonberries. I don't know if I said that right. Juneberries, pineberries, sumac berries, and hackberries.
And all of these are edible, right? We can all eat them and not die.
That's right. Okay. They're all berries.
Next time, can we get the list of berries that we can't eat because they will kill us?
I don't know if I know what those are.
Well, if you want to work on that, that was just a quick thought.
I just thought I'd throw that in there, a little bit of fun, break up the monotony of the doomsday world that we always talk about.
Well, thank you, Myke. That has definitely been some interesting did you know facts.
Warning, if you are easily offended, we urge you not to listen to this broadcast. You'll only hurt yourself and cry.
Giving our final thoughts here with Myke and me, your Professor Z. So, just real quick, I thought I'd go first, Myke, if it's all right.
Yeah.
And I had a final thought because we brought up Amazon earlier, and I decided to go ahead and look that up to get some more details on about when Amazon started. Right. Believe it or not, they started in 1994.
And if I remember correctly, they were only selling books and CDs, right?
Yeah, exactly. They started off with just that. And
you said 94?
94, extremely early days of the internet.
Wow.
So they were right out there, one of the very first. And I do remember that. I remember a coworker coming to me at one point and saying, hey, there's this new website called Amazon. And I was like, that's a weird name. That's a jungle in South America. And it's just like, oh, yeah, but you can buy books and stuff there. Like, okay, cool. And so that was a new thing. And I honestly have to say that was probably more or less, at least in my lifetime, or life experience, the beginning of e-commerce, where you could buy stuff that you want online. In either case, to give you a quick recap, as of now, Amazon currently has 1.5 million employees worldwide, and their current revenue for 2023 was $574 billion. So that's just the revenue for last year. They are more than a massive, huge, corporation with more money than they know what to do with. And if you ever have the time to go down the rabbit hole of learning more about Amazon, you can find about all the things that they've invested in and they're doing and the whole scenario. So in either case, that is my final thought for this evening, Myke. Sure. So do you have something to share with the audience?
I do. You know what, people? I'm at a point where I'm just friggin' sick of it all. I'm sick of everything that's happening. I'm watching my country fall apart. I'm watching society crumble. I'm watching our enemies, our world enemies, grow to greater and greater strength. And I got to tell you, you already know, for those of you who do know me, especially when I do the Michael Deacon program, you know I'm a depressed man. I have a lot of issues when it comes to the world. And I, I, I try my best to maybe not get so involved all the time. Like I can't always listen to the news or read about what's happening because it makes me even more depressed. But what I'm getting at is I'm reaching a point where I really have no faith in almost anything anymore. I certainly have no faith in my government. I'm seeing, and I don't have much faith in people anymore either. Especially those who consider themselves to be what's classified as woke. Maybe I'm old school. Maybe I'm just an old man who's uptight and jaded and pissed off. But the fact of the matter is, I'm seeing things happen, and I am truly in a world of disarray. I'm really losing it, so to speak. I don't know what else to think. I really think we may be heading towards the end of times, and by that I mean, and I don't mean like an apocalypse type thing. I hope not, but I mean where we are losing certain freedoms that we had just maybe 10 years ago. I can only speak for myself when I say all this stuff, but I'm at a point where I've lost complete and utter faith in so many things, and it's all because of what I'm seeing happen around me in the world, particularly in this country. But as a result, what happens in this country a lot of time has a ripple effect towards other parts of the world. In fact, a lot of parts of the world depend on they depend on us. So I guess my final thought would be that I'm losing my mind and I'm going crazy.
Well, I don't think you're losing your mind or going crazy. Unfortunately, that's what's happening around you. And if I can add anything to what you said, because honestly, we are looking at some very dark scenarios around the world, I would actually ask you to still have some hope in human beings and individuals, because there is a great, large, vast population of people that do believe in the similar principles we do, and they want their personal freedom. And that's one of the things that is part of what is called the silent majority. And I think the silent majority is slowly really waking up, especially with the immigrant situation, because this is literally coming into their backyards. I don't know what major city in America is not necessarily dealing with how to afford the migrant crisis. So I still have some hope in individuals and the people that have nefarious, intentions with whatever their decisions are, whether it be political or ideological. I have some faith that there's going to be people that'll stand up and
Well,
will
people are
make a
standing up.
difference.
I think people are standing up. A lot of people are realizing what's happening. The problem is,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? Fight the government? Like,
Yeah. Because that's what
well,
the Constitution
I'm
pointed out.
sorry,
That's
I
why,
disagree with that because as we fight the government, they basically just say, we don't care what you
well,
say. We're going to keep doing this. And that's the
the
way it
best way
is.
we can fight them is with voting. And that's where I can actually point out to our audience it's still like less than a third of our population goes to vote in any population, in any,
I'll put it to you
sorry,
this way, Z.
uh,
I'll put
you
it to you
know,
this way. I will have hope when I see Donald Trump elected as president.
well, I
But
agree.
if I see him leading in the polls, and then all of a sudden, not the polls, in the election, and then all of a sudden, like all these votes come in from somewhere else that we didn't know about, and they keep going on for a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever. That's when I'm going to lose complete and utter faith in everything because I have
Yeah.
right now I have no faith in the voting system. I really don't.
Well, it's just there's no doubt that if the election, regardless of polls, uh, that people, if they could vote today, I'm sure Trump would win. I mean, I really do think that because most Americans are having a miserable time in this economy. everything, 20% increase in prices across the board is pretty much what I just heard recently. So, and that's especially the case in the grocery store. And we all have to eat. We all have to buy consumables, like you were just pointing out for your animals. Like, I'm sure that number used to be less 3 years ago. So it's just ridiculous, the fact that everything has cost more, and we can point to the fact that it's policy that's caused it to cost more, not anything else. It's because of this man's choices that's made everybody's life more miserable and more expensive.
Right. So I'm still depressed.
Well, I wasn't hoping to alleviate your depression, but I was hoping to at least give you something to hope for. Because
did you see that video I sent you yesterday?
Yes, I did.
You watched it? That guy, that veteran?
I did.
Now, I'm not so much talking about the end part, what he's selling, but the beginning part and what he talks about, what he thinks is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a great show tonight. We're going to talk about this maybe next show or at some point in the future. Actually, now that I remember, the next show that's coming up, we're going to have a guest on the show. His name is Argyle Goolsby, and he is the lead singer and the creator of the band Blitzkid. And he's going to be on our next show. So please, if you're a fan, even if you're not, this is a great band, a total punk rock band that you can definitely get into. They kind of fall in the realms of like punk rock / monster punk, or horror punk, whatever you want to call it, kind of in the realm of the Misfits kind of thing. Great guys, great band. They're going to be here. Goolsby is going to be interviewed, and then that show will air in 2 weeks. So on that note, shall we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
So thank you very much, everyone, for listening to our show tonight, watching our show. We hope you liked it. Don't forget, check out all the sorry.
We're live, dude. We get dead air.
The platforms for this show are Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. So please subscribe, like, and share with everybody. If you like the show, we hope you do. Let other people know about it, especially if all these topics are tickling your fancy. Don't forget MykeHideous.com.
There you go. MykeHideous.com. It is the place to visit.
You can see all kinds of stuff that I got for sale, including my book, King of an Empire, to the Shoes of a Misfit. And on that note, I think we'll end the show. You want to say anything,
pretty good. Yeah, I just want to say a good evening to everyone. It may not be evening when you're listening to this, but at least have a good day. And it is always a pleasure to share the news stories and what's going on with you, Myke. And I look forward to our next program with Goolsby.
First interview.
Our first real interview. And then after that, hopefully we're going to start adding some live shows to the programs. I'm also going to throw in a little apology to our listeners and our followers. I know our episodes have been posted a little late recently, but to say the least, Z's going through a change of life. And so it's just been a little bit difficult.
He's transitioning.
I'm transitioning in a different sort of way than anybody would imagine. But in either case, I am transitioning, and I apologize. But with any luck, we're going to have things on schedule soon, and that way you can rely on. He's becoming a mammoth. And that's right, because I want to be a big woolly mammoth, which
would big trunk.
And let's see, a bipedal woolly mammoth would be then Sasquatch, wouldn't it? I mean,
what was that? A bipedal?
Well, if you're a bipedal, mammoth, woolly mammoth, you'd be a Sasquatch, right?
Oh, okay.
Sounds like it. I mean, especially if you mix the Indian, DNA in there. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, Myke, I send it back to you. It's been a great evening chatting with you.
All right. Thank you, Professor Z. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening. And we will see you on the next broadcast of Finding the Truth with me, your host, Myke Hideous. Peace. These stupid balloons.